8:36, joined by Matt McCoy and Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brennaman right now. Marty, we always appreciate it when you come on with us in the morning.
My pleasure, Joel. How are you?
Good. The question is, how are you, and are you ready for what is going to be soon the end of the old broadcast career?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not second-guessed the decision that I made back in January. Somebody told me that I'd broadcast between 6,500 and 7,000 baseball games, and I'm not into numbers, so I've never sat down and tried to figure it out. But when he told me that, I said, "You confirm one thing," and he said, "What's that?" I said, "I've seen enough. I don't need to see any more baseball games." And that's not to minimize the impact and the importance that this organization and this city and this ownership has been in my life. Yeah. But I think there's something after whatever you do for a living, especially when you've been doing it for 4.5 decades. So. I'm looking forward to Friday, which will be the first day I will have a reduced relevancy in this city.
So I mean, seriously, you're never going to go watch another baseball game?
No. I'm kidding when I say that. In fact, I've agreed to be a quote unquote ambassador for the ball club for 3 years.
Nice.
To make appearances for them and things of that nature that they feel my presence would help them. But in terms of broadcasting baseball, this is turning a page, and I think I'll be able to look back upon it with a great deal of gratification and satisfaction.
Marty, one of the things that they've been doing this last homestand in your last few games is you've been out in the crowd a little bit, and they have a special broadcast booth for you doing the pregame show. Are you enjoying that, enjoying seeing the fans getting a part of your closing days here?
Yeah, it's been great, Matt. We did the game the other night, Friday night, from out in the stands, and we had done that. I mean, it takes me back to 1977 when Joe Nuxall and I went up in the red seats at Old Riverfront Stadium and broadcast an entire series.
That's awesome.
And it was fun then, and it was fun the other night. People are very respectful for what you're doing. They don't yell to try to have somebody hear them on the radio in the background, and it was a blast. And I've told our people, even though I'm not going to be around, this is something that they should do every year. In fact, they should do more than one game. It was really a great experience, and I'm thankful I got a chance to do it one more time.
How much do you these days? You mentioned Joe. I mean, you've got great partners, and you have a great relationship with Jeff Brantley and all the people on the network. But Joe is your signature guy. How much do you? I don't know, as you wrap up your career, or do you find yourself thinking more about those years with Joe right now?
Well, there's no question about that. I mean, he and I were together for 31 years, and the only tandem in Major League Baseball that was together that long was Vin Scully and Jerry Doggett out in Los Angeles. Nobody's gone more than 31 years sitting beside the same partner. And I was blessed that Joe was the guy when I came here. He worked 3 years with Al Michaels, and Al was a big hit in this town, and we all know what kind of career he's forged for himself since leaving Cincinnati. And Joe welcomed me with open arms. It could have been tough on me. But when you got the stamp of approval from Joe, then everything else was fine. And as the years went by, he and I got closer and closer and closer, and I have nothing but incredibly wonderful memories of thinking back to the years in which we were together, and it's something that probably stands out more than anything that's occurred in the 46 years I've been doing Reds baseball.
I'll tell you what, even non-baseball people, you got to appreciate that, because that's a long time to put up with somebody, and I'm talking from his perspective, not yours.
Well, there's no question about that. What's even more impressive is the fact that in 31 years, I don't think Joe and I had a crossword one to the other over 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, like I said, I got along better with Joe than I did my previous 2 wives. That's saying an awful lot.
For sure. We want to reminisce a little bit. Marty, stand right there. I got to get traffic and weather. More with Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brennaman. Marty, you're just clicking through, some of your career. I mean, I've seen pictures of you with the Big Red Machine, that 90 World Series team. I mean, even George W. Bush has been in the booth with you. When you think back over the career, are there a couple things that are just like, that was such a cool event, that will always be a highlight for me?
Well, I can remember you mentioned the presidents, and we've had vice presidents in the booth. We've had show business personalities. And I think one of the things that stood out was way back in, 77 or 78, we had a rain delay at Riverfront. And back in those days, we would keep it. We'd not send it back to our stations on the network. And we would be required to do interviews with people, whether it be a baseball scout or somebody of that nature to fill the time until we got back to playing. And this was a long rain delay. And we got wind of the fact that Jonathan Winters, one of the great spontaneous comedians in the history of show business, was in the ballpark. He was born and raised in Springfield, Ohio. His dad was a bank president there, and he never became a Dodger fan all the years he lived in L.A., and he was there having visited his folks, his people, and he'd come to the ballpark. So we sent out a word, could we get him to come up, and he did. And he sat down between Joe and me, and purely off the cuff, with no prior planning, he adopted the guise of a retired major league pitcher by the name of Whip Willis, who went bankrupt when his used chicken farm went under. And I want to tell you something. Joe was in the floor. It was the funniest thing and it just showed the incredible talent and brilliance of the man, because he could do this. He used to come into the clubhouse at Dodger Stadium before a game or after a game, especially if the Reds had won a game, and he would put on a show. He'd put on a show for 15 minutes for the whole team.
Unbelievable.
So it was amazing. It truly was. That probably stands out. Another just happened recently this year when Rob Lowe had come home to Dayton to visit his family. His dad still lives there, and his mom, and he came to the ballpark, and he wanted to know if he could come in and say hello to me, and he did, and we spent 15 minutes with him, and he's a great Reds fan, as his brother Chad is. We see Chad when we go to L.A., and then we had George Will, who was in the ballpark 2 months ago, and I get a call to the radio booth. He said he's in Bob Castellini's box, and he wants to come up and say hello to me. I said, we got this wrong. I should be going down there to say hello to him. And he came in the booth. So we've been really fortunate to cross paths with a lot of interesting people. And I guess that goes with the territory. I don't know, but it's sure been gratifying to us.
Well, I know it's been a joy for you, and we've talked to you before about this, that the career your son has forged, and you had a chance to work with him for years. And I guess tomorrow night, Tom's going to be in the booth with you. I imagine that's going to be nice for your last week and last send-off.
Matt, it is. He and I don't do any games at all anymore. I mean, when he first came, when Bob Castellini brought him back from Arizona to come back home, we did a lot of games together on the radio when he was going back and forth between the two mediums. But once the decision was made to keep him on television, the only time we really ever worked together was even now we don't do that, but up until 2 or 3 years ago, we would do a game or two in spring training. And it was always a hit for me. I enjoyed that. And so tomorrow night's going to be fun working with him. It's almost like two brothers. Well, our relationship is almost like two brothers rather than a father and a son. And we'll have some fun. We really will. I look forward to it, and I'm glad the club thought that there was something to having us together for one more ball game before I leave.
Yeah, well, we really enjoyed it. I mean, through the years, I mean, you talk about those days of the banana phone and all that stuff. I mean, that's just some of the great radio, period, broadcast, baseball game or not. It's just fun because you guys were such huge talents. So thanks for sharing with us. And I just hope, you seem like you're good with it, but I hope you let people love you. I mean, that's one of those things when, you've been in people's bedrooms and living rooms and called a baseball and been their friend and all that stuff. A lot of people just want to shake your hand one more time and say thanks for all of it. So thank you, Marty. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, guys. We appreciate the fact that you're with us. year in and year out, and I hope it continues after I'm gone.
Absolutely. Good
Thank you,
stuff.
Marty.
Marty Brennaman, Hall of Famer. It's wrapping up this week. It's great to have him on here. News Radio 610 WTVN.